Hello everyone, welcome to part 6 of our video series. In this episode, or in this video, we're going to install and configure an Apache web server, and then we're going to configure it to display the gauge that we created in the previous video. We're going to configure it to display that gauge in a web page. So let's go ahead and get started to two things. So we're just going to make this web server operational. In real life, there would be a whole security lockdown procedure applied to a web server, which we're not going to do here. And number two, we created our files in this series on a separate Windows system. I FTP'd those over to this server that we're using now. So you may have to do the same thing. So let's get started. So I have a terminal open to the server. So I use Fedora. And our first step is to install the Apache Webserver package, and we're using DNF. Yum and DNF are the package management utilities for Fedora. Yum is the previous utility. DNF is the current utility, but they both work. I use DNF, so let's go ahead and begin the installation process. So DNF HTTPD, so DNF install HTTPD, enter. Hit Y, yes. And it begins the process of installing, downloading and installing. And complete. Okay, so the root of our web server is var www HTML. So let's go there. Okay, so here we are. This is the root of our web server. And let's do an ls. Should be empty. It is. Okay, first off, let's do some Apache configuration here. So first thing we want to do is let's go ahead and check the status of our server. System control status HTTPD, and we see that it's not running. And let's see, our next step will be to start our web server. So system control start HTTPD, and we'll do another status check to show that it's started, and we see active running. It's also listening on port 80, the next to the last line. One up from the last line shows us listening on port 80. That's the default port. Now, one thing we need to do is, or we're going to do here, is we're also going to configure this service to automatically start if the system gets rebooted. So if your server gets rebooted, then Apache will automatically start up. So let's go ahead and do that. System control enable and HTTPD. Okay, so now we've configured it to auto start if the server is rebooted or it goes down for some reason. Next thing we need to do is, I prefer to run my web server on port 8080. It's defaulted to port 80, but I used 8080, and that port is open on my server here. So I'm going to go into the httpd.conf file and make that change. So let's go to, that's Etsy, httpd conf, enter. Let's do an ls, and there's our httpd.conf file. That's where the Apache configuration is located. So let's vi that. And there we go, and let's do a search for port 80, which is what we're listening on now, and there you go. This is the line we need to edit to change our port. So let's do an insert, #, escape to comment that out, and then hit O to open to the next line. And let's do another listen entry and make that one 8080. So we'll do an escape, right quit to save this file and exit out. And that should do it. One issue you may face, it's not really an issue, it's just a thing. When Apache's initially installed on a server that's never had it on there before, it doesn't come up on mine because I've had this installed on here before. But there's an Apache welcome page that comes up as the default web page when you open your browser to the web server. So let's CD up one level. Let's do an ls, and there's a conf.d folder. CD into that. Do an ls, and you'll see a welcome.conf. That is the default web page that comes up when you initially install Apache. So we want to move that out of the way. So we'll do a move. And then we want to rename that to welcome.conf.back and hit enter. Yes, because I already have it done. So, all right, so that should be good. Let's do an ls. And yes, it's been moved to a .back file. Now let's go back to our root folder, our web servers root folder, which is var www html ls. Now in my previous video I said that I like to keep my files separated. So the index file will go directly in the root folder here. For JavaScript, I create a subfolder where I keep my JavaScript files, and I'll keep another JSON folder for the JSON file that was created in this process in the previous video. So let's do this. Make directory JS. Let's do another one. JSON. Okay. Now our next step will be to copy our files that we created previously into this area. So let's do a copy. And our staging area is user local demo. That's where we created our listener and all that stuff in previous videos. And our index file will be index.html, and we will copy it here. So we'll put a period for this location and hit enter. Let's do an ls. Okay, there's our index.html file. Now let's arrow up back to that copy command, and let's back out here and let's copy our JavaScript file over. So example.js, and we will copy that into the JS folder. So JS/enter. Now let's ls our JS file just to confirm. Yes, there it is. And let's go ahead and do the same thing with our JSON file. So that was data.json. So we will do JSON slash for our destination folder, and hit enter. And let's go ahead and do an ls of JSON. And there's that file. So let's go ahead and cd into our JSON folder. And let's change the file permissions to 755. Which will give us read, write, execute for root, and then read, execute for user group other. So let's back out of this directory. So we'll cd back up one level, which is cd ... And let's do an ls. And our index.html file, we need to vi that and make an edit to point to our new file locations. So let's vi index.html, and let's go down to the script line that goes with our div. And we are going to edit this line. So we'll do insert, and JS is our new file location. So we'll do a JS slash, hit escape, right quit, exclamation, enter. And now let's go into our JS file folder. We also need to edit this one, so we'll do a vi example.js. We will, on this first line, we need to change this path to the location of our JSON file, which now is, hit I for insert, up one level, which is ... slash, that file name or that folder name is JSON, and another slash. And that should do it for us. So let's go ahead and hit escape, right quit to save and close this file. And let's also change the file permissions on this file to 755. Example.js. And read, write, read, execute. All right, so that looks good. So I think we are done. Let me think for a second. Oh, I changed my port to 8080. It's already opened up in the firewall. If you want to change your port number from the default 80, then this will be the way to do that. Make sure I have focus in my terminal here. So this command will add the port in the firewall, or we'll open it. I think I got that correct. And in my case, it's already open, so it tells me that. So, but success. And running this command will open the port, but if the system reboots, if your server reboots, it will erase this command. It won't stay. It's not permanent. So we need to put in the command to make it permanent. So it's the same firewall command, runtime to permanent. Enter. We have success, and that will make the opening port 8080 permanent. So whenever the system reboots, it'll automatically be open. Okay, I think our final step is to restart our web server, we changed the port number, and I don't think that we did a restart after that, which I need to do because it has to reread that comp file. So let's do that. System restart httpd, enter, and we've restarted. Status httpd, and we are running, so on port 8080 there. All right, our next step will be to open our browser and see if we have success. So let's go here. Our URL is, our port number, our IP is 192.168.117, and we are on port 8080. Let's go ahead and select this. And there we go. There's our gauge displayed in a web page. And we successfully ported it over from our IDE. So I think that's it. Remember, there's a whole security lockdown that goes with an Apache or any web server. And if you plan on using this anywhere in the real world or anywhere where it's exposed, then make sure you perform the proper lockdown. And I think we'll end here. Thank you for watching. I think this is the final episode in this series. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's helpful to people in total, or at least in part, for whatever you all are trying to do. And subscribe, like my videos, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.